Hello, everyone. Well, soon, hopefully soon, people. But hello to you watching it not live. Hey, we're back. We are back. Um, we are crap from the 80s on your Warlock Home Video Network here. And tonight, oh, I can hear myself. I don't want to do that. There we go. Tonight I wanted to talk about 80s television on DVD, on physical media, whatever it may be, DVD, Blu-ray, certainly my collection. I don't have a very big collection of them, but I do want to talk about them, show what I have, what I want, a little bit of history on some of them because some of them I've had over the years and ended up selling here and there. Had them multiple times and ended up selling them at some point, and now I'm not selling them at all. So I'm where I need to be with them so far. Hopefully I'm joined by some companions and we can also rap about that. And I'll rap about anything you want to talk about, really. 80s, horror movies, comedy, comics, toys, of course, 80s toys. I'm going to show off a couple things as well. Some recent things that came into my life, came into my sensual grip. So, oh, and we're back at the we're back in the Crep from the 80s pad. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the house tour, house video that is up there now. I know a bunch of you had asked for me to do a newer one, or maybe you hadn't seen the old one that was up, but we got some new things in the house. We upgraded a few things here and there, and of course the rearranging of the 80s room. So we got that all fixed and going for us. Now, get a little closer. Keeping it tight. Hello, Sean. Hello. You're here. I'm here. My Canada Dry sparkling seltzer water is here. I just had a new buddy over. He was just here. His name's Zach. We were talking a little bit of history about my movies and whatnot, and you know, he's moved back to Rochester, so it'll be nice to have a new buddy to hang out with, since the gang are scattered all around the country and I don't really get to see them as often as I want. So it'll be nice to have a new buddy here. It was cool to talk to him, and there might be a collaboration between the two of us in the works, which will be cool. So we'll see about that. But yeah, his name is Zach. You might see him popping up here and there, actually. I think he'll be in the Saturday morning sleepover. I think he's coming to that. Giving that a shot, checking that out. My son is asking if we have any treats. River, yes, we do have a treat. You can go down into the theater room and get one of the chocolate nutty bars. You know what I'm talking about. So just get one pack. I know how many are in there. So, and make sure you shut the door and turn off the light of the theater room, please. So, yep. River's downstairs. He wants some snacks. Yes, Sean. Yes, it is. It is cool. It is cool. Hopefully, hopefully he enjoys coming around here, and then I can add another local buddy to the mix. Because right now it's only Casey that's here, my cousin. He's local, but the gang, the extended family, they're all scattered around the country, and I only get to see them if we're shooting a movie, or if I put on an event like a Gash Bash or a Saturday morning sleepover, or just an event, like the Christmas party, or there's like a big birthday, like a 30th or a 40th or something like that, or a vacation, whatnot. So yeah, I don't get to see a lot of the gang. So it'll be nice to have another like-minded soul who's right here and can just hang out with and geek out and talk about stuff and reflect and get me a little juiced for some creativity, maybe. Who knows? But I gotta say, it's been really fun jumping into this, the way that I rearranged the room here, the 80s room, because now I very much so come in here and like to sort of, well, yes, I do have the theater room downstairs and I can get away from the world and put on some movies and whatnot. This is nice because it's the old school TV, the VCR, the Blu-ray player, but all my 80s and TV shows are up here, so I've been putting on a TV show, laying down on the couch and just relaxing and watching old nostalgia for me, and it's been great. It's been good. It's been a good mind cleanser, if you will. Certainly the movies as well. But yeah, I wanted to talk about some of the television shows that I grew up with, that I love, that I've managed to get on DVD. And like I said, the things that I still want on DVD and am shocked and ashamed that I don't have yet on DVD or Blu-ray, because some of those television shows are coming out now on Blu-ray. It's a little mix. There's some 80s and some early 90s. Folks, if you've heard me talk before about the 90s, I'm not a giant fan of the 90s. I've always said that I go up to about 94, 95, and then it starts to get pop culturally different than it was in the 80s, and aesthetically different, which I definitely, even growing up, even being a teenager and into my 20s in the 90s, aesthetically, I wasn't a fan of the 90s look. I was always wanting to go back, or at least dressing how I was in the 80s, which is basically what I dress like now. Jeans and a t-shirt, some sort of t-shirt, be it a band or a movie or graphic of some sort, comics, cartoon, what have you. Converse, just keeping it real. Yeah. I definitely wasn't a fan of the music of the 90s, that's for sure. And television and a lot of the television was changing mid to late 90s. I do, I've warned you folks before that we will probably do an all 90s episode of Crep from the 80s, so it'll be a Crep from the 90s special to talk about, the things that I did like in the 1990s as a teen and early 20s, early adult. So yeah, I guess we can talk about this here. This isn't an 80s property, of course, but this was on in the 80s, and I watched it in the 80s. Like a lot of us who grew up in the 80s, we definitely watched shows from the 50s, 60s, 70s, things of that nature, because it was rerunning. So we did watch the things that sort of, captivated us. A good example is like the $6 Million Man. I enjoyed the $6 Million Man. So I like those reruns. I like the Bionic Woman, things like that. I liked, Mr. Ed, My Three Sons, Bewitched, certainly the Brady Bunch. Gilligan's Island, stuff like that, which I should have. I don't know why I don't have those on DVD, but I want them. At least Gilligan's Island, Brady Bunch, things like that. $6 Million Man. But the Munsters. I love the Munsters, man. I love the Munsters. Grew up watching the Munsters, and I love them to this day. I got my kid into them. My kid has seen every episode a couple times, actually. And yeah, great show. I love this show. It's magical to have it on the DVD. Yeah, Sean. Yes, to see the '90s themed episode of A Crep from the '80s. Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna be a prick about it the whole time. I definitely will talk about things that I actually enjoy from the '90s, things that I still enjoy that were born out of the '90s. Again, I would say overall, aesthetically, pop culturally, they just didn't cut it for me. and even growing in the '90s into the adulthood, I wanted to go back to the '80s. So a lot hasn't changed, really. Mama's Family. I mean, I wasn't a hardcore Mama's Family dude. Like, if my grandparents had it on, and I happened to be in the living room at the time playing with Star Wars toys or whatever it was, then I saw Mama's Family. You know, things like that, like Golden Girls and whatnot. I would catch because of my family having it on, and I didn't hate them. Like Highway to Heaven, I saw a lot of, you know, Michael Landon, because it was on, because my grandparents watched it. But we loved The Cosby Show and things like that, which, again, I don't know why I don't have on DVD. I should have The Cosby. So yeah, the Monsters. Good stuff. Another TV show that wasn't a well, it became an '80s show. It wasn't. It went on into the '80s, but I certainly watched it. Was Happy Days. I loved Happy Days. It was great. And it helps that my second favorite decade of all time was the '50s, and that certainly started in the '80s. My love of the '50s because of this show, because of Back to the Future, the music. I really love '50s doo-wop, '50s and '60s, early '60s. Once it got into the hippie rock and roll garbage classic rock shit, no thanks. Not for me. Not for me. So yeah, I like Happy Days. I would say this first season is probably one of the weakest seasons as far as I'm concerned. They really I felt they got their footing second, third season in there, and then they trailed off near the end. But it was on a long time. I think it was 9 years or something like that. Yeah, Happy Days. Love Happy Days. You know, I also really like The Partridge Family. Really dug The Partridge Family. Is that on DVD? I think it was. Because I think I had it at one point and sold it, just like I did Happy Days. I had several of the seasons of Happy Days before, and then I sold them. Now I have one again. Recollecting, folks. Recollecting. Well, these were all gifts, you know, for the most part. Let's see. Let's do another not quite 80s property, but was still dope. Well, this was 2002. This was 2002, but it was a remake of the original Masters of the Universe cartoon. This is the Masters of the Universe 2002, when they rebooted the whole franchise, the new toys and the cartoon. And I've talked about it before, but this cartoon is actually really good. Really solid animation and storytelling. And as much as I love Masters of the Universe, the property, He-Man, She-Ra, much as I love it now and much as I loved it then, those original cartoons suck. They really do. And that's okay. That's okay. You can still love it and acknowledge that they sucked. This didn't. This was really good. And I did collect, I was collecting the toys when the relaunch happened. And where I was at that point in my life, we had a townhouse, and almost every wall in the townhouse was either Star Wars or these new Masters of the Universe toys that were up all over the place. So yeah. So far we've only got Sean in here. Nobody's jumped in yet. Hopefully we get some more people. Be nice. But I'm gonna keep talking about that. Talking about the shows. Talking about what I got here. Also, I want to say I'm sorry to the newsletter folks, because I did send out the first newsletter of 2019 for the Warlock page, and it was a bummer of a bummer. I'm sorry about that. It's been a interesting start of the year. It hasn't really been the most, but again, like I said in the newsletter, it's just another day, it's just another week, just another month. It's not, nothing really has changed, so the plight was going to stay the same for the most part. But it was a pretty down newsletter, and I am gonna vow to not send out such bummer newsletters like that again. It just wasn't. You guys didn't need to read that, and I definitely had some issues with sending it. So I don't know. I'm sorry. Let's scrape that aside and move on and try to have a good positive outlook on the rest of this live show, and certainly into the new year as much as we can, I guess. Yeah, I know I do, but that's stuff that should be kept private, personal shit like that, and I shouldn't have busted that out on everybody. But it shan't happen again. What you cooking, Sean? What you making? My son just had some hot dogs. I haven't eaten anything since lunch, and I believe I had some hot dogs. Yeah. I guess it's a hot dog kind of day. I like Hamburger Helper. Hamburger Helper's pretty good. You know what I also really like, and nobody in this house likes, and in fact, I've talked to some more people that I'm flabbergasted, but people don't seem to like Manwich. What's that about? I love Manwich. I grew up with Manwich, man. It's like fucking Sloppy Joe's, bro. Sloppy Joe's, but I was shocked that a lot of people in my personal love circle, they don't dig on Sloppy Joe's, Manwich. My son doesn't like them. My wife doesn't like them. It's a travesty. I love Sloppy Joe's. You guys like Sloppy Joe's? I certainly do. Let me know in the comments later if you like them Sloppy Joe's. Manwich. Yeah, I can taste it right now. Oh man, okay, so there is some Manwich lovers. Sean, and Your buddy has a man-witch tattoo. That's hardcore. I don't think I'd ever do a man-witch tattoo, but I do loves me some man-witch. That's a food staple of my childhood. That's right. A man-witch is a meal. Certainly the way I eat them, man. I usually have 3 man-witches. You know, if I'm really hungry, I'll do 4 man-witches, some chips and a pickle. Real good for my heart. Ah, Greg. It was Greg. Greg made that comment. What was that? The hell was that? River? What was that? What do you mean you don't know? Why do we always say, I don't know? We as kids said, I don't know. Kids now, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? What was that noise? You made that noise probably. What did you drop? You better not have dropped something important. Okay, so we got Greg. Manwich mac. What's that? So that's a mac and cheese and manwich, or is it like macaroni in manwich? It's like a goulash sandwich, ghoulwich. Celestial is here. Celestial shells and cheese. Okay, so a manwich mac and cheese witch. I haven't done it, but it sounds decadent. Let's get some more television shows. Again, this wasn't from the 80s, but it was close enough. This show debuted in 1990, and I loved it then. It was appointment television for me, for my 13, 14-year-old geeky self. This is The Flash. The Flash television show, the original. I do like the new Flash, but I love this Flash. And unfortunately, it was only 1 season, which is a real bummer. John Wesley Shipp played Flash. I got his autograph when I went to a Chiller Theater, 20 years ago. But yeah, it's a great show. Mark Hamill plays the trickster in it. And he has come back and reprised the role in the new Flash television show. They all have, actually. John Wesley Shipp plays the Flash's dad, as well as an alternative Flash in the multiverse. So, great show. Great show from the 90s, 1990. Great show now. So, I love the Flash. Good. I actually have watched this several times over the years because I just think it's a great show. Like I said, I loved it when it aired. Danny Elfman does the score. It's extremely similar to Batman, which he also did. And 'twas the time, man. It was Batman fever. DC fever, really. I mean, 89 Batman, and then The Flash came out, Warner Brothers, DC. I mean, the shows and the movies were very similar. Good show. Shells and Cheese. I will try that. You got the old Sledgehammer TV show. Celestial, I do recall Sledgehammer. Yes, I do. It was a cop comedy show, a little absurd, almost like Police Squad / Naked Gun type buffoonery. Sledgehammer. That is another television show that I used to have on DVD, and then I no longer do, but I remember vividly having that and the shiny silver DVD cases that it came with. Yeah, that was a good show. Funny. What else we got here? All right, this is an early 90s show. Again, not 80s, but I have this in my collection. This ran 1991 through mid 1992 or the beginning of 93, but when we were teenagers, well, geez, yeah, I was like 14, 15, going in there, 14, 15, when this show aired. But again, it still had that sensibility of the 80s. I still counted it as an 80s show because it was very much aesthetically pleasing to me, and like what had come before. But anyway, so this show was the Nickelodeon show Salute Your Shorts. I love Salute Your Shorts. It's a travesty that it is not released officially on DVD. This is a bootleg from Donkey Lips himself. Michael Ray Bauer. He sells, or maybe, I don't know if he does still, but he used to sell complete sets of the show. And these were from his personal VHS collection. And he added some extras and whatnot, but it was the only way really you could get the show. Other than like bootlegs at conventions and whatnot. But, so this is it. Salute Your Shorts. Love the show. Watch it so many times throughout the years. I hope that one day, and there was only 2 seasons. That's funny. It felt like there were 6 seasons or something like that because Nickelodeon reran this show over and over and over and over again. But there is only 2 seasons of this show. It was Michael and then Pinsky, and that's it. Amazing. What a lasting legacy, though. Salute Your Shorts. Yes, Greg. Parker Lewis Can't Lose, one of my favorite shows of all time. Had them all on DVD. They're on my wish list. I want them back again. But when I do my Saturday morning sleepovers, I always include an episode of Parker Lewis. Love that show. It was a show before its time. The humor, the absurdity, the comedy, the writing on that show was fantastic. The performances, love, love, love it. It inspired so much of who I am as a filmmaker to this day, actually. So yes, I love Parker Lewis. And if I still had the sets, I would be talking about them as well, but I want them, and they're magical. Sean, Camp Anawana, we hold you in our hearts, and when we think about you, it makes you want to fart. That's right. Camp Anawana. Live wanna 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 ugh. Alexander Supertramp, have you seen Creep 1 and Creep 2? Are you into found footage? If so, what are your favorites? I'm not a giant found footage guy. I never really have been. There's been a couple that have been okay that sat well with me, but for the most part, it's not something I gravitate towards. So I know of Creep 1 and Creep 2. I know of those brothers, the Duplass brothers. I don't think it would be up my alley. And I don't tend to, watch stuff that isn't going to appeal to me. I know my tastes. I know what I like. So I don't know. We'd have to see. Maybe in a group setting, a marathon of some sort, a get together, and people want to throw on Creep, and we'll see. I don't know, but for the most part, I've never really been a big fan of that stuff. So. All right, Sean. Yeah, I mean, lots of people love that style. It didn't catch on with me. Like I said, I mean, I know that there are a couple that I have enjoyed, but honestly, I can't put my finger on them. Clearly they didn't excite me that much to where I can actually remember what the hell they were. But I do know I've seen some that I enjoy. But overall, it's not my thing. Now, these are, again, it did go into the 80s, the very early 80s, but it was a 70s show, and growing up, I loved them. I talk about them so much. Jim Henson and the Muppets and everything Jim Henson did, and love the Muppets. I'm never not going to love the Muppets. And here we are, the Muppets. The Muppets on DVD, and for some reason, the 4th season is not on DVD. which is a shame. But I love this show, and it's a piece of my childhood. And anytime I see the Muppets, I just big smile, warms my heart. It's kind of a security blanket in a way. So there you go, the Muppets. What popped up? Greg, do I enjoy watching any game shows? Not now, but certainly back then I enjoyed game shows. And I make sure they are a part of my Saturday morning sleepovers. When I am editing shows and cartoons together, I always throw in some game shows. But I loved Double Dare. I loved Teen Win, Lose, or Draw. I certainly loved Hollywood Squares. I guess if I were homesick with the family and either my mom or my grandma had on like Wheel of Fortune or something like that, I watched that. What else did I like? I liked the dating game really early on. I liked Remote Control on MTV. That started in, I believe, 87, 88, something like that. But I enjoyed that. There was a show called Funhouse that was on Fox that I liked. But nowadays, not so much. I know there's channels out there that have like nothing, like the game show channel. I would probably watch that because of the old 70s, 80s, and early 90s stuff for sure, if I had it. But we don't have cable, so. But yeah. Celestial, would you compare Parker Lewis to Ferris Bueller's Day Off? For some reason, it always reminded me of that. Well, certainly early on, they were aping some Ferris Bueller for sure. They were that style that like this kid is the coolest kid ever and nothing could touch him and things like that. But as the show, as Parker went on, even in the first season, as it went on, they kind of abandoned that, and Parker Lewis became its own thing, which I really loved and appreciated. How many of y'all remember that really bad Parker Lewis television show? It was bad. It didn't last long at all. And Jennifer Aniston was on it. She played Ferris's sister on the show. It was bad, just like that Bill and Ted television show that they made on Fox that lasted like 13 episodes. Whew. Whew. Bad shit. Yep, Greg, I did talk about Remote Control. Greg, no, didn't really watch the Match Game. What is it? The Pyramid. I watched. Was it the $1,000, $100 million, something like that? It was the Pyramid show. I watched that. I watched that. Okay. Well, now I'll get into some more. Of course, I have to have Mask, the entire. Well, actually, this doesn't have the last I want to say 7, 8 episodes from the last series, but for the most part, that's okay because I didn't like once they switched over to doing like the stock car shit and racing car crap, drag race, all that stuff. I tuned out of Mask, even with the toy line. As much as I was a giant Mask fan, I didn't really go after the last 2 lines of the toy line, the Kenner toy line. And as you can see, I have what I had. I recollected what I had. But love this cartoon. Love the theme song. So many memories. And again, I include this into my Saturday morning sleepovers when I'm editing all that content together. If it's not the full episode, then it's definitely the opening intro, the opening theme intro to the show. Because sometimes the cartoons don't go over as well during the Saturday morning sleepovers. So what I'll do is I'll at least just put in the intros, because that brings back some fun and nostalgia. But the cartoons can be rough for people, and it can take them out of the fun and the experience, depending on the cartoon. Oh, Elf just fell. So depending on the cartoon, I might just throw in the intro, but Mask is a favorite. Love Mask. Alexander, have I seen Haunting of Hill House on Netflix? Absolutely, and it is fantastic. It was one of my favorite things of last year. Loved it. Masterful, I think. So, yes, great show. Mike Flanagan, that director, that writer-director, I mean, almost everything he's done, I've really enjoyed. So, Greg, yes, I grew up. I actually, Monty Python is a huge part of my growing up, and it's a huge part of why I wanted to do comedy and horror. Monty Python and the Zucker brothers and all that type of stuff. Benny Hill, yes, I did watch Benny Hill. My grandpa would have Benny Hill on a lot. My grandma and my great aunt would always be like, Chris, you shouldn't be watching this, because there was always like scantily clad, becleavaged, beautiful, busty, buoyant women on Benny Hill. But I still watched, and that is my proclivity. I mean, my women. I prefer my women curvy, with some meat and with large, natural breasts. So, but I like that. But so, of course, Benny Hill, yeah, and the Benny Hill theme. Come on, the wacky sax. It was great stuff. Brian, hello. That's right, Mask Forever. Mask Crusaders, working overtime, fighting crime. Yeah. Yeah, the bent neck lady. Yes. Don't want to give away spoilers though, but so great, so great. Now okay, again. Now this was one of those things where, as I've said before, I've sold and resold so many things throughout the years, and some things I kick myself for. But when this series was coming out, it came out in an awesome, very expensive but awesome, full complete set, and it was the real Ghostbusters set, and it came out in a Firehouse box, and I was gifted from my wife at the time that Firehouse box as like either a birthday or a Christmas gift, and man did I love that box, and I eventually sold that fucking box. So I have been re-getting the series separately. But I know there is a cheaper box set now of the real Ghostbusters, but I think that particular one doesn't have every episode in it. But anyway, real Ghostbusters, love the cartoon. You may have heard me tell stories about when I was a Ghostbuster growing up, what Ghostbusters meant to me growing up. But yeah, huge thing, the real Ghostbusters, and it was great. And to this day, not the later Ghostbusters when it became Slimer and the real Ghostbusters, or Slimer and Friends and that shit. But early on, the shows were written fantastically, and they really like drew you in, and so these are still great watches. Yakety sax, yeah, that's right. Yakety sax. Brian, BBWs forever. That's right. I enjoy the BBWs. Sorry, this thing is going slow, as you know, folks. Celestial, what about the Filmation Ghostbusters, the based on the television show, The Ghostbusters? I did watch the Filmation Ghostbusters. Let's go, Ghostbusters. Yep, I watched it. I had a few of the toys. And yeah, I enjoyed that too. But it wasn't the real Ghostbusters. You know. So Yes, Celestial. Yes, they did have the ape, and they did in the television show as well. All right. Here's another '80s cartoon that I enjoyed, and is a pretty decent cartoon show. And again, the theme song is kicking. The same vocalist sang the Mask theme song and sang this one as well. This is Jase and the Wheeled Warriors. This was a great cartoon. This is the complete series. I liked it, and I had some of the toys growing up. The toys were weird because, like, while it had great playability, because you could mix and match all the different pieces for the toys, and the command center that they had, which I had and I recently sold at RetroCon. It was my original command center from the Wheeled Warriors. But the figures were just these little tiny brown. They weren't articulated really. You could like move the legs up and down, but they didn't have like, they weren't detailed or anything. And that always sucked. I remember, like, as a kid, I just wish they had the actual characters in toy form other than the vehicles and stuff. But Jason the Wheeled Warriors. This was late 90s late 80s going into the early 90s. But I loved this cartoon. It mixed, what was hot at the time, the video game craze of the 80s. Certainly because of Nintendo coming out in 85 and then Sega Genesis 89, all that stuff, the Master System before that. But this was Captain N the Game Master. Great cartoon. I still watch it to this day, and I do add them into the Saturday morning sleepovers. Great cartoon, man. It's really fun. Dope song in the opening. This was a Deke cartoon. We loved Deke growing up. And this was one of those, like Kid Video, which I also adore, which there is not a official DVD release of, but I love Kid Video. Another rockin' opening song, but it starts with live action, and then the characters get sucked into the cartoon world. That happened in Kid Video, and it also happened in Captain N the Game Master. Greg, was I ever a fan of Cowboy Bebop? It was okay. Um, there's something really weird going on outside, guys. I'm sorry. River? River! Riv! River! Sorry, guys. Hold on. Alright, sorry guys. I don't know, that was weird, I'm sorry. But I'm here. That was unfortunate. I'm sorry I had to leave, but it just was like, River was not responding back to me, so it was flipping me out, but there's like some screaming people down across the way, and they're like screaming, some guy and some girl, and there's like a car doing something over there.
The people are kicking the car.
I don't know. Just, go about your business. Don't worry about them.
And there's tons of people with black coats walking around the car. I'm very confused.
Well, I'm sure somebody is going to call the cops.
Yeah, because there keep being people honking on the street.
Anyway, all right. Celestial, that's what I was talking about, was Kid Video. That's the show where it's live action at first, and then they get sucked into the cartoon world. And they're being forced to play music for a tyrant in the cartoon world with felines and other weird creatures who also had played music and whatnot. And there was a fairy. They had a little fairy buddy in that world who would like fly around, and they'd go on like weird adventures and gigs and whatnot. And then after the episode, there would be an actual live action music video, because that group of actors were also the musicians for the show. And they went on tour, and there was an album and everything, Kid Video. And Robbie Wrist, who was one of the characters in the show, and he sang and he played guitar and he played keyboard from time to time. Robbie Wrist was Cousin Oliver on the Brady Bunch, and who later went on to do the voice of Michelangelo in the Turtles films, the New Line Cinema early 90s Turtles films. The good ones, the amazing ones. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons was also a great show, great cartoon, but they didn't do the live action stuff. But it was the same, all those, so much Deke. Kid Video is not on DVD anywhere, unless you bootleg it. There's like bootlegs. I do have a bootleg of the show. It was 2 seasons. And it was KIDD video. I have a shirt as well. I have a Kid Video shirt.
It's all good now.
Did they leave?
They had their fight and then they left.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was 2 groups. They kept punching each other. And one group got in a car and drove off. And then the other group saw more cars coming and like flashing lights, so they both ran through like someone's neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, stay away from the windows.
Yeah.
Stop looking around. Okay? Anyway. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I left off with Captain N. You've heard me say it a million times. I love Hanna-Barbera, and this is one of the cartoons that I loved growing up. And I still like it to this day. There's not many Hanna-Barbera that I don't love to this day. You okay? Anyway. Pacman. The Hanna-Barbera cartoon. It was 2 full seasons of this show. and it sticks with me like a lot of those Hanna-Barbera and like a lot of cartoons growing up. It's just very vivid. I remember certain, being at my grandmother's, my grandma Bowker's, and always watching the Hanna-Barbera lineup in the morning, Saturday mornings. Pacman was one of them, so I had to have it. They have the second one on DVD as well, but I have the first. I would like it. I'm sure it's on my wish list. I've got a giant wish list. Celestial, you have the same neighbors? Yeah. Well, these weren't neighbors. Something weird was going on. I just heard the cops coming through here, so something was going on our street. I don't know. I do remember the USA Hanna-Barbera Hour, and it was also it was a little, well, USA also had that. It was like the cartoon train. They called it something, but it was more than an hour. I remember, but that was cool too. But this stuff was. Hanna-Barbera was everywhere. Saturday mornings, after schools, weekends. It was all over the place. But I love it. Love Hanna-Barbera. Trollkins, they did that too. The Trollkins, I remember a lot. Trollkins is not on DVD. Jim S. Cheeky boy. Cheeky. Hello. Thank you. Oh, so are you, Jim S. It's hot stuff. We're all hot. You're hot. Everybody's hot. And you are as well. That guy is hot. You are as hot. Greg, you should have shot the neighbors on film so you would have some sweet fight stock footage. No. I don't get involved with any of that shit at all. Fuck that. No thanks. Speaking of Hanna-Barbera, here's another DVD in the 80s or TV collection. This one is the 1980s Hanna-Barbera Saturday morning cartoons. There we go. There's that. Look at that. It's a collection of different Hanna-Barbera stuff from back then. 11 shows on 2 discs. There's some good stuff on here. There's also a couple stoinkers. But man, did I love the Mr. T show. That cartoon was great. Love the cereal as well. Fool. And, oh man, it's got Thundar on here. But I love Captain Caveman. I want that set. That's on my wish list too. The Flintstone Kids are on here. Good stuff, man. You should check this out. It's a good, yeah, it's good. Ooh, more Hanna-Barbera? Yeah, we got some more Hanna-Barbera. The Smurfs. Who doesn't? I'm sure there's lots of people that don't like the Smurfs, but I like the Smurfs. That's right. Drink your milk, eat your greens, stay in school, fool. You don't want to be like T, be like you. I'm like me. Smurfs Volume 1. There's something like 6, 7 seasons of Smurfs or something like that. Maybe 8. I don't know. There's a lot. I think you can get a UK region-free DVD of at least the first 5 seasons of the Smurfs. But this is Season 1, Volume 1 of the Smurfs. Got that. And then I recently got that. I don't know. It's funny because I've talked about this to some friends who are also in their 40s, and they don't really remember this cartoon either. But I certainly remember it. I enjoyed it. This is the Dennis the Menace cartoon. This is the complete series. This was an 80s cartoon, and I really enjoyed it. Great theme song as well. A lot of fun. So I got that in my collection. And then, of course, we got DuckTales. This is Volume 1 of DuckTales. But I mean, geesh, this is episodes 1 through 27. That's a lot of content for a volume one. Um, grew up with DuckTales. Everyone grew up with DuckTales. DuckTales was also another one of those cartoons in the 80s that was not only they did it in Saturday morning, but they also did it every day morning, every day after school. It was, you know, weird. Played it all the time. It was exposure. It was too overexposure. And then I've definitely talked about it before, but DuckTales was really the only Disney afternoon Saturday morning type show that I enjoyed out of that pack. Like I didn't like Chip and Dale's, and I didn't like Darkwing Duck or any of that stuff. I believe Gargoyles. You would think the subject matter of Gargoyles would be appealing to somebody like me, but I just didn't get into the show. Really, DuckTales was the only one. So, yes, Greg, Smurfette was indeed the only the only female. And the first episode, maybe the second episode, is when Smurfette comes into the whole thing, and she was created by Gargamel. The whole thing was goofy and weird, but we enjoyed it. What the fuck do we know? You know what I mean? So. What are some of the shows you guys like? I want to know. Yeah, lots of people like Darkwing Duck and Tailspin. Again, it's just stuff that I didn't gravitate towards, and it's not really because of age or anything like that. Because I definitely was still watching cartoons and collecting comic books and toys and all that stuff. I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. Animaniacs, I didn't. I caught a little bit of Animaniacs. I didn't. Truth be told, and I think I've said this before, is that I'm not a big Warner Brothers cartoons fan. The Looney Tunes stuff. It just didn't do it for me. I don't know, man. Opinions, people's tastes. It didn't taste right to me. The Warner Brothers stuff. So. Never, it certainly was on. Of course I know all those Looney Tunes characters, and it was on. I had relatives and cousins and whatnot that loved that stuff. It just didn't do it for me. The Hanna-Barbera, that stuff, that was my jam. Herculoids, I loved Herculoids. Yeah, Hanna-Barbera, man. Thundar the Barbarian, all that stuff. Fantastic. Great stuff. Nope, didn't like Rocko's Modern Life. No, that wasn't for me. Here's another one in my collection that I think is pretty fun, and something so stupid and fun and really absurd, and just some of the greatness about the 80s is that they would turn so many different properties, 80s movies, properties, television shows, what have you, into cartoons or toy lines, regardless of the rating. And this is one of them, the Rambo cartoon. The Rambo cartoon started hitting in 86, so right around First Blood Part 2. But this is a this was a dumb, fun show, and as a kid, it was like Rambo, and the voice was nothing near like Sylvester Stallone's voice, which was also great. But you can get most of the entire run on, I think the entire run on Amazon. This is just the first volume, but I think if you get something, maybe it's just the 2 or maybe 3 volumes, but it's the entire run. But because it didn't last long. But there was the Rambo toys and everything, which I did have a few of, and they go for big money now. People have full-on collections of those guys. This was an early 90s show, but it's from the 80s property. This is the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures television show. The first season, Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves did the voice. So did George Carlin. They did the voice. There was the toys that I did have from Kenner, and which I would love. I would love the original. I would love Bill and Ted and the phone booth again, because I did have that, and I just stupidly just sold them at RetroCon because they weren't complete, and I wanted them complete again, but they were my originals, and I did sell them stupidly. But I love the movies, love the cartoon. The TV show was terrible. The live action TV show was terrible. Like the cereal. Did get the comic books, all that good stuff. So that's great. Get out of here, cat. Jammo. Hong Kong Phooey, Greg. Yeah, Hong Kong Phooey was dope. The old guy in the Hubba Bubba commercials. Well, there was a lot of different things in the Hubba Bubba commercials, but yes, Hubba Bubba in general. Man, Hubba Bubba. Remember Hubba Bubba, Bubblicious, the Fruit Stripes. They still make them. Fantastic. Ooh, you know what was great? Bonkers. Bonkers was a fun candy, and they are bringing it back. The Bonkers Fruit Chews. Celestial, yeah, you got that, Bill and Ted? Dope. This goes along with my love of this man in general, this man's comedy, the films, the commercials that I grew up with. This was the Hey Vern, It's Ernest television show. This was in 1988. And this is the entire series. But Jim Varney, as far as I'm concerned, Jim Varney was a comedy god. You can like what you like. Opinions, again. Who cares? It's okay. Hate him, love him, whatever. That's great. But I happen to love Ernest. And this is the entire show that he had. This was a show that I would show River as he was growing up as a toddler and everything, and I'd put this on. This and Pee-wee's Playhouse. And River has the entire series of Pee-wee's Playhouse in his DVD collection. But yeah, Ernest. You ever seen a movie with Michael J. Fox called Midnight Madness? Of course. Yeah, I got Midnight Madness. And Eddie Deason? Yeah. And then they did an awesome television made-for-TV movie called High School USA with Michael J. Fox and Crispin Glover and everything. And that was before Back to the Future. Yeah, great stuff, man. Here, I'll be right back. And this is just me. I have to take a piss. So I'll be right back. The wonders of live television. Maybe you can hear me if you press your ear to the... Get out of here, guys. What are you guys doing? Cat. Yeah, I remember Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks. Yep, that was a renter actually. I rented that from Video Connection quite a few times actually. Celestial, I know you got into some side Croft and Sid and Marty Croft. Yeah, Sid and Marty Croft. Yeah, I mean I like the banana splits. You know that was prime time. You know early Sievage, toddler Sievage. Um, all that stuff. Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers. But yeah, the banana splits. Hanna Barbera again. doing some Sid and Marty Croft action. HR Puffin stuff. All right, now we'll get into some more 80s stuff. So this is also in my collection. Growing Pains. I love this television show so much. There was 7 seasons. I only have the first 3. I gotta keep getting those. Gotta keep getting those collections. They're on my wish list. They've been on there forever. But this is one of those shows that it's one of my top television shows of all time for sure. Growing Pains for sure, and it still brings a joyous, nostalgic tear to my eye watching this show. Certain shows do that. Family Ties does that. Why I don't own Family Ties is beyond me. But I love that show. That is in my top television shows of all time as well. Family Ties. It's so cheap on Amazon, but again, I never have a lot of money, and if I do, I don't spend it on myself. So that's what my wish lists are for. But yeah, Growing Pains. Who doesn't? I mean, come on, the Seavers. Do you know how much I got shit growing up? No, are you on that television show? Is Alan Thicke your dad? Stupid ass kids. It was just like, what? Same last name. So, yeah. Alan Thicke. This is also Growing Pains is a show that I always put on Saturday Morning Sleepover in the list of stuff that I compile for everybody to watch. It was great. Greg, on a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate the Stranger Things series so far, and are you excited about season 3? Stranger Things, I would say 10. I'm a big Stranger Things fan. I love both those seasons, and I'm super excited for season 3. I got to be honest, when that show came out, when that trailer for the first season came out, I was honestly like taken aback. I was just, because of the type of person I am and the obsession for the 80s that I have, I just was like, what is this? Like this, it looks like it was made for me, being the horror fan, being the age that I am, the content, it just, Stranger Things was made for me. So I love it, and I can't wait. Can't wait. I do have those first 2 seasons on Blu-ray and 4K, actually. So... Hello, DW Inc. How are you? Greetings from the Netherlands. Greetings is indeed. I do love the Goldbergs. Speaking of the Goldbergs, I have the first 4 seasons on DVD. I love the Goldbergs. That's another show that was made for me. And even more so because Adam on the show is a aspiring filmmaker, and that was my childhood, man. 1984, I got my first video camera. Well, the family got the video camera. But that's when I really wanted to make movies. I was 7 years old. Didn't look back. That's all I wanted to do, was making movies. So growing up in the 80s, early 90s, everything, I just was making movies. And so, of course, the Goldbergs was going to appeal to me big time. So I love the show. Yep. I got to get that 5th season on DVD, which I know just recently came out. and I'm excited. I hope there's more I hope there's more. You know, I know they just announced the '90s show that they're doing called Schooled, which they did do like a premiere episode, like a pilot episode, like I think it was over the summer. They showed people like an advanced look at that. I liked it. You know, I'll watch it because it's the Goldbergs people, and Adam F. Goldberg is still all a part of that. So I don't know. Yeah, Goldberg's good. I was going to talk about it anyway, but I'm glad you brought it up. I have yet to see Summer of '84. I do want to see it, and I have, you know, I've been told good and bad things about it. I certainly love Stand By Me. That's one of my favorite films. Actually, my film, The Weirdsies, is a big homage to Stand By Me. But yeah, I want to give it a shot because I did like those filmmakers. I did like their first movie, Turbo Kid. So, you know, hell yeah. And Summer of '84, horror, thriller, '80s. Bring it on. Bring it on. Here's a couple other in my collection. And I believe this went on for 4 seasons, maybe 5, but I want to say 4. And I only have the first 2, but you can get them on Amazon. This is Charles in Charge. I love Charles in Charge. Loved it then, loved it now. It's a great show. Great theme song. It is in my collection. It is part of my childhood. And then recently I got this for Christmas, thanks to my wife. But this show was 3 seasons. This was '87 when it first aired. This is My Two Dads. Recently just put it in again and was chilling out and watching it. Great show. Love this, man. You know, all this stuff is just literally childhood, rewatching my childhood. It's so much fun, and it brings me joy and it brings me happiness, and we all could use a lot of that in this day and age. So watch what you like, folks, and I like My Two Dads. Yep, Celestial, I did mention Thundar. As usual, your stuff is probably going to come in way late. Because there is that weird delay here. Next show in my collection is Perfect Strangers. This is the first and second season. Perfect Strangers, I believe, also went on for, I want to say 6 seasons, maybe 7, maybe, but it's definitely 6. I would say. I think. I don't know. I liked Perfect Strangers. It was in the original block of TGIF with Full House. Perfect Strangers gave us the magic of Balki, Baltakamus. Don't be ridiculous. But yeah, it's in my collection. I love it. And folks, I've talked about this with my movie collection as well. I only get what I like. There's lots of people out there who collect to show off, to collect to be like, look at, I have a giant collection. But for the most part, you know, they haven't watched those, and they probably won't. And for me, it's just a big waste. And I think early on, when DVD was becoming a thing, I got my DVD player in '99. And I think early on it was a lot of like, man, I want to also get anything and everything that was coming out on DVD that was like in a certain genre, if I hadn't seen it or not. Because I always felt like maybe eventually I would watch it, but it was just a big waste of money. So now, you know, in the last certainly 10 years, and me in my 40s now, I watch I collect what I want, what I liked, what I know I liked. It's less expensive that way. And it just really shows off who you are as a person and as a collector. So, we got here bosom buddies. I like bosom buddies. Yeah, hell yeah. First Tom Hanks. My favorite Tom Hanks of anything ever is Bachelor Party, the 1984 Bachelor Party. I love that film. I am not joking when I say I truly believe that that is his best work. And I tend to not watch dramas. I don't like them. Life is drama. Why do I want to watch life? You know what I mean? So I like the things that are not real. So, Bachelor Party is, for me, Tom Hanks' best thing. And then right behind that is Big. Because he's so fun and childlike and silly and ridiculous, and that's my favorite Tom Hanks. And I know that that is still in him, because in real life, he's still been known to be like that, as opposed to the dramatic actor Tom Hanks. But I enjoy, early Tom Hanks, just like early Val Kilmer. I enjoy early Val Kilmer a lot because he was a fucking wacko. No, hell no. Bachelor Party 2, get that out of here. That doesn't even count. Ugh. Sean, the only reason they didn't even Family Matters was a spin-off of Perfect Strangers. Yeah, and then Full House and Family Matters cross-pollinated as well. Those two shows and those characters would cross-pollinate. They did a lot of that back then, which I thought was pretty sweet. The original, melding multiverses on the television show. Yeah, Celestial, Richard Pryor's The Toy was all right. Starring Scott Schwartz from A Christmas Story. It's okay. Certainly wouldn't fly nowadays. I don't even know if that movie is readily available. It might be, but when it comes to Richard Pryor, for me, I enjoy Brewster's Millions and the Silver Streak, or the Stir Crazy that he did with Gene Wilder. He was choice with him. Greg, that's awesome that Bachelor Party is your most watched movie. I love that movie. I'm right there with you, man. I think it's a classic. I was a little too excited when that finally hit Blu-ray. It was right around my birthday at that time, too. And I was like, oh my God, what a gift. Bachelor Party on Blu-ray. Brian, yes, I love Zapped. Loved it. I have the poster over there. I have the movie on both VHS and Blu-ray. Zapped is fantastic. Love that movie. Man, he and Willie Ames, they were a powerhouse duo. Brian, The Burbs, yeah. I dig that. People enjoy The Burbs. I wasn't it's fine. I love Joe Dante. It didn't take me like it has a lot of people. Celestial, Splash. Splash is okay. It's still not my favorite Tom Hanks. It's still not his best. Bachelor Party. Do I remember Last Ninja and The Highwayman? I remember Last Ninja, but not The Highwayman. Is that one movie? Is that one thing? Is that one television show? The Last Ninja and The Highwayman? Or is it separate? There was a lot of ninja shit back then. Man, think about it. Yeah, ninjas were huge in the 80s. I do have the American Ninja set. I have all of those films. Michael Dudikoff, man. No. Here is also, this is also up as one of my top favorite television shows of all time. That's in my collection, and I need to get all of them. This was from 78 to 86, but this was for a kid my age back then. This was appointment television for me for sure, but I loved Different Strokes. I only have up till the 4th season, but I want them all. I want them all, please. Again, they've been on my wish list forever, so one day I'll get them, but they're on there. I love Different Strokes. What indeed was Willis always talking about? But amazing theme song. I've talked about the theme song ad nauseum. Written and performed by Alan Thicke. I love that theme song. I mean, I don't exaggerate. If it's in my car and it's on that 80s spinner that I got going, Different Strokes is playing. So I hear it almost every day. So I love it. Oh, Last Ninja with Lee Van Cleef. Okay, I do remember that show. I think I remember the show. Spookhouse Plastic. Hello. Happy New Year to you. Thoughts on Dr. Otto? It's okay. It's not my favorite Jim Varney. But it certainly shows off his character prowess. That was another great thing about Ernest in general. I mean, certainly not in the commercials that I first saw growing up with Ernest, because they played those commercials all the time. And in a backwoods little podunk shit fart town like Wellsville, where I grew up in, I mean, those commercials were perfect. It was almost like Ernest was making those commercials in my backyard, because it really felt that way. But that his talent and the showcasing of all those different characters that he did as part of the Ernest universe. I mean, the man was a comic genius. In my heart, he really was. What do I consider the best 80s series that still hold up? I think Miami Vice and Magnum, despite the clothes, still hold up. Well, I mean, honestly, to be honest, man, these shows that I'm showing, they still hold up to me, or I wouldn't have them. I love Family Ties. I love Different Strokes, Growing Pains, Full House, Who's the Boss, which I'll talk about, Punky Brewster. Those shows, to me, still hold up. I regularly watch these shows. They're fantastic. The Wonder Years. Yeah, I rewatch a lot of them, man. Okay, Celestial. What do I think about Return of the Living Dead sequels after part 1? I love part 2 and I love part 3. After that, when they were like the made-for-TV, shit-faced, weirdo, garbagey movies, I didn't care for them. I did see them, but I didn't really care for them. But I really enjoy 2 and 3 for sure, and I own them. Adam, are you pretty certain that the remake of Death of Lantern will be out early this year? I hope so. It'll be out, yes. It is coming. How early, I don't know. I really wanted it to be this month, but I don't know if it will be. Again, like, I need money. I don't have money, man. I just don't, so I can't make... I need to pay somebody to do the art for the Blu-ray sleeve. If you really want an awesome release other than just the screener of the movie, that means we got to find somebody who can do the Blu-ray mastering of like an actual menu that can take commentary and extras and whatnot. I don't have those capabilities. I don't have the stuff to do it. But as far as just a straight up screener, yeah, it'll be soon. It'll be soon. I do not have the 100% final finished version in my... I don't have it. Clint still has it. So it all needs to be 100% locked and loaded and then sent to me. And then I can do what I need to do with it. But that's what's going on with Death of Lantern, the remake. I didn't really like Hunter, Celestial. I loved A-Team and Knight Rider, for sure. I loved The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy was dope. I loved MacGyver. All these shows that I'm talking about now, need to be in my collection, and they're not. It's a damn shame. I do remember. I didn't watch Fernwood tonight. I did watch Thick of the Night when that would be on late night. Let's see. Did you also like Cobra Kai? I think it was mind blowing how the creators made a root. Yes, I loved Cobra Kai. It was one of the best shows in a very long time, and not only was it one of the best shows, but it's one of the best sequels in general, be it movie, television, what have you. They did a truly fantastic job. So Cobra Kai was hell yeah. Cannot wait for the second season. Adam, I think the Tom Savini Night of the Living Dead is 10 times better than the original. The atmosphere is amazing. I would be fine with the straight up Death of Lantern Man. I am fine with that. I agree with your assessment about the Tom Savini Night of the Living Dead. I love it. I love it more than the original. I, of course, had seen the original before Savini's. Some of you might not know that are just joining, but yes, I am a giant horror fan, and I have been watching horror since I was very little. So, when the 1990 written by George Romero and directed by Tom Savini, Night of the Living Dead came out, I smiling ear to ear. I loved it. Thought it was fantastic. Still think it's fantastic to this day. Got a great Blu-ray release of that from Umbrella Releasing. Fantastic. I agree with you. It's a great movie. Then we'll go on to some more of my 80s TV on DVD collection. This is Elf. I love Elf. I like Elf the show. I like Elf the cartoon. But I didn't like the final few episodes of Elf in the 4th season. That's when things really started getting depressing and weird. And for a television show like Elf to do what they did in that last season is really bizarre. Because it was sad and it was weird, and he gets taken and that was it, and it ends. And they didn't do like a real resolve until years later with like an odd television movie. And it still was weird. It was just like so weird. I don't know, but Elf, no. No, Children of the Living Dead. No, thank you. But Savini didn't direct that. He was just in it, and he hates that he was in it. That's fucking weirdo John Russo. Still. Ugh. 80s question, bit off topic, but related to Stranger Things. Are there still big retro arcades in the US? They just opened a big one here in the Netherlands, all things from 70s to 90s. They're still around. Yeah. Now what I'm seeing that's a big thing here in the US are barcades. Bars and arcades. And a lot of them are vintage cabinets. Vintage, 80s, mostly 80s actually. And there's actually it's called, I think it's 8-bit, something, I don't know, it's an actual, it's its own thing, 8-bit arcade or something like that. It's a barcade, but it is exclusively an 80s barcade. And the closest one to me is Cleveland, Ohio. But it's awesome, man. I love that stuff. Like, bring it back. I want a full-on Pacman cabinet in my home. I would love that. That would be great. I know they do the 1-up machines, which I really would love. Again, just to have, because it's cheaper than a full arcade cabinet. I would like to have that. But I love Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man for show. Adam, did I watch Quantum Leap or Webster? Webster's house was creepy to me as a child with its secret passages. I watched both. And I enjoyed both. Webster, I remember when that first came out on DVD, and I did get that first season, rewatching it, for some reason Webster didn't sit well with me rewatching it. And again, I'm an 80s nostalgia freak. Um, but that one didn't do it. Like Small Wonder. I re-got that when that first season came out originally on DVD, and man, I was like, I liked Small Wonder growing up, and I did, but it just was like, no, I it didn't sit well with me, so I got rid of them quickly. Um, Quantum Leap is a show that I wish I had on DVD. I don't know why I don't have it on DVD, and one day I'll rectify that. But yeah, it was Quantum Leap was dope. Yeah, a lot of those. Yeah, a lot of. I mean, the endings to a lot of those shows were just so. Why did you do that? You know, some of my most beloved television shows have like fucked up endings. It's like something was going on. Celestial, no, I have not seen American Dreamer. Again, if it's like a drama or anything like that, I'm probably not going to watch it. Not for me. Alien Nation, Greg, I knew of. I didn't really watch. The concept was great. I didn't. I think it's the people who play the roles, the characters. If I'm not jiving with those people, then it just doesn't do it for me. And I didn't like it in the movie, and I certainly didn't like it in the television show. But I love the concept for sure. Celestial Silver Spoons, 100%. Love that television show. It was one of my favorites. It only had 4 seasons, maybe 5, I think, but only the first season is on DVD. What? What? Blows my mind. I want them all. I want them all. Love Silver Spoons. Everybody wanted to be Rick, man. That house, his dad, the train. Come on. Here we are, face to face, a couple of silver spoons. Great show. Gotta take a quick pee break. I've been drinking a lot of liquid, folks. Whoa, whoa. Yeah. Man, this must be really this must be really far behind because Adam, I yes, Perfect Strangers. I did talk about. It's in the collection. I showed off a little bit. So yeah, I do love Perfect Strangers. Yes, Silver Spoon's house was cool, but nothing beat living above the garage like Mike Seaver. I beg to differ. Being the child at heart that I am, the man child that I am, I think I would take that house over anything. I mean, that house was crazy dope, crazy cool. Yeah, Aaron Gray. The thing, like I like Aaron Gray in Buck Rogers and Silver Spoons. Aaron Gray outside of that, at least for me, I've witnessed a lot of not so fun things with Aaron Gray as far as the way she's acted in public towards fans, and she's also a she's a convention promoter, manager, like for certain stars for conventions, and so I know a little bit of some of the behind the scenes stuff from fellow con you know handlers, celebrity handlers, and stuff like that. And she wasn't the greatest human being, but great on those shows. Looks fantabulous. You know what I'm saying? Then, you know, as with the Cosby Show, which I still wish I had in my collection, and I really, regardless of the shit that has gone on, you know, it doesn't take away how I feel about the shows and how I feel about what I loved growing up with those shows and the nostalgia and everything like that. So I still love the Cosby Show, regardless. It's the same with this set. This is the complete set. I love Roseanne. Grew up with Roseanne. I'm not gonna stop liking Roseanne just because of how much of a turd bat she can be, and she can be a turd bat. So, but I loved Roseanne, and that is the complete set. Now this is a show. This show. Many people do not know about this show when I start talking about it. They know of the actors, but they don't know about the show. So this show I watched because I loved the actors, because I loved certain movies that they were in, separate and together. And this was a 1990 show. They shot some in 89, but it jumped onto 90 and even 91 because they both worked together a lot. But this show was called They Came From Outer Space, and this is the complete series with Dean Cameron and Stuart Fratkin of Ski School fame. And of course Dean Cameron was in Summer School and Bad Dreams and a million other things, and Stuart Fratkin's in Dr. Alien and Teen Wolf 2, and I love Stuart Fratkin. But They Came From Outer Space. This is a fun, stupid television show. It was a syndicated television show that I happened to watch, and I think it's really entertaining. And John Landis directed a lot of these episodes. But get it, this is super cheap if you love these guys. If you love their humor from Ski School, that's pretty much what this show is. A lot of fun guest stars too. But you can get this super cheap. And it's the whole set. It's the whole show. Could you recommend some new SOV movies besides you? That's out. Besides you, Celestial. No, man. I'm sorry. I haven't seen a lot of recent SOV flicks at all. So I can't. Sorry. I mean, you know, I told you Todd Sheets and Todd Cook, and look for those. Todd Sheets is still making some great shot-on-video movies. But that's, I mean, I don't really keep up into that because I certainly haven't been shown, or I don't know a lot of that stuff anymore. Did you see The Last Dragon? Hell yeah. Somehow I missed this in the 80s, probably because I watched Best of the Best a million times, but it's great. I loved The Last Dragon. Growing up in the 80s, I loved that movie. I was obsessed with that movie for a while. I rented that over and over and over again until we got a second VCR, and I talked about this before. Once we got that second VCR, I was dubbing everything. I was duping everything. So I would rent so much stuff and then just dupe it to have in my own collection. So yes, The Last Dragon was a part of my childhood, and it is to this day. I love it. I have the soundtrack on CD and vinyl. And I have the Blu-ray and the DVD. It's a great movie. I got that glow. You got that glow. Everybody got that glow. You got that glow. The Connors without Roseanne. I've seen 2 episodes. It was fine. It's still, I mean, it's Roseanne. It's still those. It's the same type of stuff. Um, I might check it out. You know, once it's all on Hulu. You know, I might give it a shot. I didn't hate those episodes without Roseanne. I'm glad that those actors were able to continue because they didn't deserve that shit that happened. So, Adam, you've never seen Ski School. Listen, I mean, if you like stupid, absurdist, dumb, sex comedies, it was shot in '89, but it wasn't released until '90. Um, Ski School is where it's at, man. Dean Cameron, Stuart Fracken, it's fantastic. Most of that movie is just improvised, and you can tell, and they're just having a blast. But it is out on Blu-ray, which I have, and I have the signed poster over there. But check it out, Ski School. Adam, I've never really seen any Todd Sheets movies. What would be the best ones to watch first? Seek out the Zombie Bloodbath collection from Todd Sheets. That's what I grew up with and was inspired by when I was making my shot-on-video horror movies, comedies. Those Zombie Bloodbath movies, man, they just, especially if you were a aspiring filmmaker or somebody who wanted to make movies, those movies were just fantastic to watch because they also included behind the scenes. Even back then on VHS, he would include those things, and it was fantastic. But I think you can find the Zombie Bloodbath films on DVD through Camp Motion Pictures, also known as Alternative Cinema. I don't know if they still sell it, but you might be able to find them. But he's done a lot. He did most recently Bone Hill Road just came out to Walmart. So, Greg, I really like the 2012 TV comedy show The Neighbors with Jamie Gertz about aliens moving in next door. Did you ever see this one? I did not, but it sounds amazing. And why did it pass me by? That's ridiculous. John Goodman looks like he doesn't know where he is in that show, just saying. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just in general where John Goodman is. Visually, anyway, in his life right now. But I love John Goodman. Teen Agent was a great one back then. I think it's called If Looks Could Kill with Richard Grieco. Yeah, I've seen that. Richard Grieco was always to me, he was always like the low budget Johnny Depp. And he didn't have it to me. So I hated when he ended up being on 21 Jump Street. I was always like, man, where'd Johnny Depp go? Looks Could Kill. It was all right. But yeah, I remember it. Let's see. Midnight Owl. Hello, Midnight Owl. Looks Could Kill in North America. Did you ask any questions, Midnight Owl? I'm sorry if you did already, or... Midnight Owl. Ski School versus Hot Dog the movie. Who takes it? Ski School any day of the week for me. Sorry, questions were going by and I was babbling on. Nothing. Things are just starting to get heat up and we're like 104 minutes into this. I don't know how much longer I'll go, but maybe till 9, I think. But I want to talk about this show. This show I have mentioned before. I always love when people know the show because it was short-lived. It was 1985, and this was a show that as a 9-year-old I was obsessed with. I was obsessed with this show. Only lasted a season because of a terrible fatal accident, but and I've told a story about this show before that was that was funny and vivid memory for this show that happened to me, and I'm not going to retell the story. Maybe I will if I do like a spotlight on this particular show, but this show I loved, and for years and years and years it was on bootlegs. You could get it. You could get it like sometimes if you were at like a horror convention, you could find it at conventions and whatnot. But this show is called Misfits of Science. And just recently, I was able to get this. This is a German release. This is an official release on DVD of the entire show. Misfits of Science from 1985. I love this show. And it's in English, and it's region-free, which is fantastic. I have a region-free DVD, Blu-ray player, so it wouldn't have mattered even if it wasn't region-free. But so I can watch this anywhere in the house, and I don't have to worry about it, not just on the one Blu-ray, but Misfits of Science, man, I can't, you know, I think you can watch full episodes on YouTube, and I would say give it a shot, guys. Give it a chance, because it's pretty magical, and it tickles me to no end that I finally have an official DVD release of this show. Because it's really great. It's really great. Okay. He was the underpaid understudy of Depp in 21 Jump Street, so yeah, good point. Booker didn't hold up. No, Booker didn't hold up. Greg, were you ever a fan of the Cannonball Run movies? I gotta be honest, I loved the bloopers more than anything else. I loved the chemistry between Dom DeLuise and Burt Reynolds. I love Sally Fields. I love Adrienne Barbeau. Talk about big natural. You know what I'm saying? Woo! As a kid, did you ever watch Hardcastle and McCormick? Only if it was on, if the grandparents were playing it, because I lived with my grandparents, my great-grandparents. That's how I would see Hardcastle and McCormick. Same with Remington Steele or Riptide, shows like that. But that's how I also saw The Fall Guy, but I loved The Fall Guy. It appealed to me. Same with MacGyver, things like that. My wife just mentioned Hot Tub Time Machine. You must have liked that one. Hot Tub Time Machine, I had expectations for it, and I ended up not really liking it. Because it didn't give me enough of the 80s that I wanted. Which is bizarre to say, but it just didn't hit me how I wanted it to hit me. And I thought there were some missed opportunities. And I hated what I saw of part 2. But so there's like scenes, there's certain things in Hot Tub Time Machine that I liked, but I felt like, man, you could have done better. If I would have gotten a hold of that. Anyway. I didn't really enjoy Sanford and Son, no. Celestial. Midnight Owl. What do you think of Perfect Strangers? Again, I've talked about Perfect Strangers already, but you weren't here. But yes, I love Perfect Strangers. It is in my collection over here that I was showing off. I'll get back to that as well, actually. Greg, so you knew Misfits of Science. Great. Love Misfits of Science. It had a great theme song as well. I love it. Love it. Lots of people that, my friends, people that, you know, in my circle now, they just didn't know of Misfits of Science. Perhaps because it was just a one season thing, but I was obsessed with the show. I love it. Love it. Had the Fall Guy, Hot Wheels, Jeep, and the Dukes of Hazzard Hot Wheels. Yeah, early on I liked Dukes of Hazzard, of course. I like those Duke boys. Roscoe P. Coltrane. But I love the Fall Guy. It was a good show. Great theme song by the man himself. Now this is, of course, is 90s. They were developing it in 89. They were developing this and Fresh Prince at the same time, but this was a 90 show, 1990. And then really hit the gas in 91, I would say. But Blossom, I like Blossom, man. Season 1 and 2. And strangely enough, this is it. This is all that you can get on DVD, which is crazy to me, when you can get all of the Fresh Prince. But so this is in my collection, Blossom. Gonna rock right into this. Who's the Boss? Love Who's the Boss. This is another one of my top television shows of all time. Once again, this is the only season you can get on DVD. What a crime. Doesn't make any sense to me. Samantha, Angela, Mona, Jonathan. This show, tops. Love it. Love it. What's a blossom? Siler, what's a blossom? Adam, if you could go back to the 80s and leave the internet, dumb phones, and social media behind, would you? Absolutely. The 80s were a much better time, and I'm not just saying that because of my childhood. 100% agree. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Give me any fucking chance ever to go back to the 1980s. I absolutely would, without hesitation. It was the best decade of all time. I don't care what anybody says. You can't prove me wrong. It's the reason why I do this show. I love it. No hesitation. Would go back in a heartbeat. 1980s. There'll never be a time like that, man. Never. Never again. Hot damn, I was lucky enough to live it. That was my entire childhood. My God. So lucky. Were you ever into square pegs? Absolutely. Midnight Owl. I love square pegs. Well, again, only one season. What? That was a good show. In English class, I was given a list of new movies premiering. Greg, and I chose Misfits of Science, and I've been a fan ever since. That's right. Awesome. Charles in Charge or Who's the Boss? Who's the Boss? I'll take Who's the Boss. I did love Charles in Charge, but I'm going to take Who's the Boss. For me, it sat better for me. But I love the hijinxery of Charles and Buddy. But overall, Who's the Boss is going to beat it out. Samantha, Jonathan. Every time. Thank you, Siler, for showing up. Again, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on here, but you guys can watch back and hopefully get some magic from this. This is a show, again, a lot of my circle now, modern circle, or the last 20 years, I would say, didn't really know what I was talking about when I would talk about this show. I would watch this show on PBS. I started seeing the show probably in 88, 89. We would also, our school would show this show. It would be a show that they would show during like chill time. We would have like a little break here and there, and they would wheel in that TV and they'd show this. But I loved it, and I love it to this day. And I'm talking about Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. This show, man, like, not only now as in my 40s and watching this show, but looking back and realizing even when I was a kid watching this show, how 80s it was and how friggin' real life it was. You talk about, now listen, I love Saved by the Bell, and in fact we're doing a Crep from the 80s episode Monday all about Saved by the Bell. But this show, they talk about shows that tackled some serious subjects with teens and kids. No. Degrassi tackled some serious subjects for teens and kids. This show was balls deep serious, but fun. But man, so yeah, to this day, I love it. The Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High. Great shows. The Zit Remedy, Joy Jeremiah, Spike, everything. It was all Caitlin, all great. Snake, rest in peace, Wheels. Okay, you guys are cruising. I gotta go back here. Thank you though. I love the questions. Thank you. It was about 9091 was a good year too. 9091 was a good year. As I said before, Celestial. I believe like the early 90s were still decent. It still felt like the 80s to me, and that cutoff point for me was around 95, and then it just changed and it got lame. Siler, it's cool. I just got back from work. Just wanted to pop in and say hello. Well, thank you, Siler. Thank you so much for just popping in. Greg, have I ever seen the movie 1114? No, I have not. Regale me. Midnight Owl. Sledgehammer was a truly awesome show, but nobody I know believes it exists. Yeah, we did talk about it earlier. Midnight Owl. Sledgehammer did exist. It is on DVD. I'm from 1977 as a Xenial. Yeah, I too was born in 1977. I assume you're a Xenial as well. Yes, we're lucky. Yes, we are. We were born in 1977. Our childhood was the 1980s. We were Star Wars kids. That's what we call the 77s, and that's what like people always dubbed me was you're a Star Wars baby. You were born the summer. I was born in the summer of Star Wars. We're the only generation that knows how to send a fax and can send a tweet. That's right. Midnight Owl, Degrassi, in my opinion, everything after school's out never happened. I did give The Next Generation a chance, which was 10 years later. I liked some of it, and only because it had a lot of the same cast members from Degrassi Junior High and High all grown up. So I appreciated that. But the more you watch it, the more you realize, wow, they're just like rehashing the stories from the original show in a modern era. Although they did tackle, blowjobs and shit like that in the newer one. But School's Out, that was the first television movie or show or anywhere, be it USA, be it Canada, where they said fuck. Amazing. I do remember The Quest, Celestial, or Frog Dreams, Frog Dreamin' or something like that. Sorry guys, I'm getting there. I like these questions though. I'll get to them. Adam, I remember watching the first Delta Force with Chuck Norris as a kid and it always getting me pumped to play with action figures in the yard after it was over. The theme song for that rocked. Adam, can't wait for the Saved by the Bell show, man. It's still is hilarious. We still watch it to this day. Hell yeah. But yes, we are recording that crap from the 80s this Monday, and it'll be up probably Tuesday or Wednesday. I didn't like Fame. W wink. I wasn't a fan of Fame. So, But Degrassi I was a fan of, for sure. Greg, hell yes. Do I remember the teenage drama 15? Hell yes, I do. It was a Canadian show as well. And that went on for like 4 or 5 seasons, but I don't think that Nickelodeon ended up picking up all of the seasons. I may be wrong about that. And it had a different name in Canada as well. It wasn't 15. Or either it was 15 in Canada and we changed it. I can't remember, but hell yeah, that show 15 is the basis for Wellsville Nights, which is an 80s serious yet comical show that I have been developing for quite some time and hoping we can shoot an episode for. But yeah, I remember that. Macht nicht sich, man. Hello. You just joined us. I don't know. White Shadow, not too funny, but tackling some serious issues along with feel-good stuff. I have not seen White Shadow. Harry and the Hendersons, of course. I love the movie. It's one of those movies that I still cry at to this day. But the television show, I did watch. I did watch the television show. It was fine. Kevin Peter Hall still doing it until he died. Playing Harry. Greg, it's about a handful of stories all coming together at 11:14. It's a pretty good cast, in my opinion. I have never seen it. Cloak and Dagger, it was okay. Celestial, Fame was boring. I think that's what you were trying to say, boring, Fame. Head of the Class. Hell yes, I watched Head of the Class. That's another show that I don't know why isn't on DVD, along with Valerie's Family / Hogan's Family. The Hogans. Come on. Why isn't that show on DVD? Loved it. Loved it. And just the 10 of us. Just the 10 of us. I had to bootleg just the 10 of us just to have it. If I could go back to the 80s, what would you do first, and what city would you like to live? Shit, that's a good question. Man. Where I would like to live, I think I would probably want to live in California, in the Valley. What I would do first, I would probably raid every toy store, every department store for toys, anything that I could. I'd go see the movies of the time again. Man, I don't know. It would be a kid in a candy store. It truly would. Where are those time machines? Why don't we have them? Adam, what song encapsulates the 80s more than any other song? Shit. I don't know. There's so many great songs, and great songs that are from the 80s that I continue to listen to this day, because that's the majority of everything that I still listen to. But shit, I don't know. There's so many that where I'm just like, it's tough for me because, like, again, I still listen to it to this day. It's not like a novelty thing. I'm constantly listening to 80s music. It is on my rotation. It's most of what I listen to. I don't know. I think Human League, Don't You Want Me? I mean, that song to me is fucking 80s, man. And it's fantastic. Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. You guys are cruising with these questions. I haven't even finished my collections. Hard Bodies versus Screwballs. I'll take Screwballs. Valerie is still on reruns, but no DVD. Wow. Again, I don't have cable. I don't have any of that stuff. That's amazing. I wish it was on DVD. Valerie's Family. Alexander, I imagine you've seen Firefly. Oh yeah. It's a shame it went only one season. I know. I'm telling you, man. Firefly. I am a brown coat. I have the series. I have the movie. We went to the movie, hyped for that movie so much. We loved the movie, but we were crying at that movie because of everything that happened. My God. But yes, hell yeah. Love Joss Whedon, actually. Have you seen Suicide Kings? Yep. I have seen Suicide Kings, and I used to have it on DVD. Not anymore. Spell check says what it wants. I am on my phone. I don't know. Greg, okay. Celestial, Gleaming the Cube. It was fine. It's no Thrashing. Midnight Owl, Australian Battle, AC/DC, Air Supply, or Men at Work. I love all three, but I absolutely love AC/DC. Adam, there are many great 80s songs. It is very tough to pick, I understand. Indeed. I don't do cable. Me either. I just went to London to see Def Leppard and saw them play the entire Hysteria album. That's a good rock coverage of the 80s. Absolutely. Turk 182. Again, that's not my cup of tea, that type of film. Best encapsulates 80s songs. It's My Life. Eyes Without a Face. Girls, Girls, Girls. Australian. What about In Excess? Yep. I love In Excess. Hell yeah. Tragedy. What You Need, man. What You Need. It's my favorite. Okay, so we'll keep going, man. Another one of my favorite television shows of all time, to this day and back then, Punky Brewster. The other seasons are on my wish list, my Amazon wish list. I've got 3 of them, folks, on Amazon wish list. I want all of them, but I love Punky Brewster. I only have the first season. Love this show, love the cartoon. Love Punky. Punky, Punky, Mahoney, Punky, Brandon. Also loved, again, being a horror fan, 80s, this was on. This was one of the shows that scared me, mostly because of the damn theme song. Tales from the Dark Side. Great show. This started in 1985. George Romero. So good. Love the movie as well. And I consider the movie, and he actually considered the movie Creepshow 3, even though it was Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. But damn good show. Midnight Owl, you have to have an opinion on Yahoo Serious. My opinion was ridiculous. Young Einstein, I remember it vividly. That was about, I mean, he was fine. He was no Ernest. He was no Pee-wee. He was Australian's Ernest or Pee-wee, I guess. Australia's Yahoo Serious. I mean, you know, he was fine. You know, fine. The Wink, do we also have the Facebook page? Yes. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter, and an Instagram. Instagram is Warlock HVN. Twitter is The Sievage. And Facebook is Warlock Home Video Network. And that's where we put up all the info about the movies that I do, upcoming episodes, any of that stuff. It's all there. Midnight Owl, never saw the TV series. We Got Monsters and Freddy's Nightmares. Also, big fan of Monsters and Freddy's Nightmares. Still not on... Monsters is on DVD. Freddy's Nightmares still not on DVD. It is in the UK, but it's not here in the US. Celestial Munchies. It's okay. It ain't Gremlins. It ain't Critters. And it ain't even Ghoulies. But Munchies is okay. Now, this is a show. This is a mini-series that ended up a show. But this show, or mini-series, whatever, was an event. This was 1983. I remember it so well. Our family was all about this mini-series. And I was just as pumped. You know, I was a little kid. I was like, bring it on. And I'm talking about V. This miniseries was dope. Of course, this is the inspiration for Independence Day, which was in 1996. But B, the original miniseries, then V, the final battle, which was the second miniseries, which kind of closed off the first miniseries, and then V, the television show, which isn't as good as the miniseries, but goddamn, I watch V, the original miniseries, every single year, and I have done for years, along with my buddy Bobby Heckman and Sean King. We're just huge V fans. Love it. V back there. I've got the V action figure. I've got V posters. I've got the V comic books. I love V. All right, what are we doing here? Adam, what is your favorite episode of any 80s show ever? What is your favorite finale of any 80s show ever? I cannot pinpoint the favorite episode of any 80s show ever, because that's too hard. There's a lot of great episodes, but what is my favorite finale of an 80s? I'll tell you, I can vividly remember the finale of Family Ties, because I cried and it was a big deal, and I remember audience members throwing roses out to the cast members at the very end, because they came out and they bowed to everybody. I remember that. And then I remember, and I've told this story before, I remember going to school the next day, or maybe it was like whenever it was, after that finale aired. And my friend Richard was at his desk, and he was bawling in school. And everyone was kind of like, what is going on with Richard? So I go up to Richard and I'm like, buddy, what's wrong? And Richard goes, the end of Family Ties. I can't believe it's over. He was still like in anguish and he was crying about it in school. And I'll never forget that. Rock and Roll Nightmare. Hell yeah, I remember that. That's a great John Mickle Thor. Rock and Roll Nightmare. Zombie Nightmare. Those two movies, man. Whew. Stoinks. Celestial, I love V. My mom and I would watch it all the time. She got me into science fiction. Hell yes. V is a Family Tales finale was insane, but I've never been able to sit through it in its entirety since. I get it, but there's a lot of shows like that that had finales where you're just like, you know it's ending, and it's just like this, you know, it's so tough to get through. V, that shit was scary back then. It didn't like being that young age in '83. It just, you know, we were 6 years old. It didn't because I had seen so much, I guess, already. I don't know. V didn't really. It certainly left a lasting impression, just because of how insane it was for that time and the stuff they were showing you on television, especially the baby alien. You know, that stuff is ingrained in you. You know, all of that stuff. It's gonna stick with you. The thing that didn't age well was the massive glut of celebrities giving testimonials that FT was the greatest series ever made. Dudes, it was good, but no mash. I don't know, man. I didn't like MASH. That wasn't my cup of tea. So I'm picking Family Ties anytime over that. Greg, hell yes, I saw the movie Satisfaction with Justine Bateman. I watched it all the time. It was like a friggin' HBO staple. It was on either HBO or Cinemax all the time growing up. And that's how I saw it. I mean, you'd first see the trailers, the TV commercials of it. But hell yeah, I remember Julia Roberts is in it. Liam Neeson and his ridiculous trying to mask and then not mask his accent. It was hilarious. That's right. Tough question. What food, snack, or beverage reminds you of your childhood days and may not be available anymore? This is great because this is something we do at Saturday morning sleepover, where we still gather all the foods and junk food that's still around, and we eat it all during the marathon that I put together for everybody. I loved, obviously, Ecto Cooler, but you can still get it, and it's not called Ecto Cooler. And I'm not talking about when they re-released it in 2016, folks. I've said this before. I'll say it again. You can get it. Juicy Juice Orange Tangerine is out there on the shelves, and it is Ecto Cooler. It's the same shit. So you can still get it. But I loved Cool Ranch Doritos. I loved Cherry Coke. I loved, man, I was a big fan of Giggles, the cookies that they don't make anymore. Loved Giggles. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I loved, they still make. Like Twizzlers, I loved Twizzlers. I mean, I ate Pringles all the time. They still make Pringles. But I mean, the Giggles, they don't make those. That's one thing. Certainly, I would say the cereals are some of the stuff that I miss the most. Oh, I loved Almost Home cookies. They don't make anymore. Those were dope. But the cereals, I wish like Mr. T was still around. I wish E.T. was still around. Gremlins, Pacman, C3POs. Those were dope. Those were so good. Yeah, you know, I miss that shit. Pepsi Free or New Coke. I didn't like New Coke. Did not like New Coke. I remember that. 1985. What a blunder. That was like a few months long, and then it was over, and then they brought it back as Coke Classic. That I remember. And I like Pepsi as well, you know? I like them both. Sorry, guys. Anyways, I'm out going to Lord of the Rings marathon. Dope. That's awesome, Siler. Love it. Always good seeing you, Chris. Happy New Year. You too, Siler Legacy. I know you're gone probably already, but thank you for stopping by. Maybe I missed this before I came on, but do you like MacGyver? Yes, I do like MacGyver. Murdoch was the great villain. He's the best villain. Hell yeah, he was. Speaking of Neeson, what are your thoughts on Darkman? I love Darkman. Love it. Own it. It's a great Blu-ray. It looks amazing on Blu-ray. It's a great movie. I saw it in theaters, and I remember this. This is a memory I have of Darkman. I remember going to see that movie and then coming back and talking about it at my school during school lunch, and there were kids around me at the table that were making fun of me because I liked Darkman. And these are kids that didn't see Darkman, but they were making fun of me. And I remember just being like, you are some of the lamest kids I've ever known, seen. Like, this is so bizarre that these kids were making fun of me for seeing Darkman. So bizarre, so weird. Vivid memory. I remember it. New York Seltzer was the shit. Yeah, we had New York Seltzer, and they're bringing it back. I think it's coming back, actually. Clear Pepsi. I mean, Crystal Pepsi tasted like hair gel. The original Crystal Pepsi did. People don't remember the original taste of Crystal Pepsi. It's back. It's still back. There, you can still get it in various Walmarts throughout the country. You can still get it, and our Walmarts still carry the newer Crystal Pepsi, and it's not bad. It's not bad, but it's not the original. Cherry Coke. I love Cherry Coke. Yeah, that's right. The cameo commercial. Yep. I had to watch a lot of older shows because of my parents, so that also became part of my childhood. We only had 2 TVs. I get it, man. A lot of those shows I watched because of my family. Dead Time Stories, the movie, it's not that great. Celestial, Midnight Owl, bet you got your ass kicked. I didn't get my ass kicked. There were people who wanted to fuck with me a lot, and they did, but never once did I ever get in a fight. Ever. Ever. Because what would happen was these idiots would start making fun of me, and then they'd get all tough and, pump up their plumage and shit, and then I'd end up doing something so ridiculous that they ended up laughing. So, and in a way I was making fun of them, but they just didn't get it. And it would happen all the time. Because I was a smartass. I was the class clown, and I was the weirdo who loved horror, and I made movies and shit, and that didn't sit well with kids. It was so weird and not normal, because I wasn't like riding, four-wheelers and fishing and hunting and shit, like, because my fucking podunk town was like that. But I was the weirdo. So, yeah, I definitely had people who didn't like me, but I ended up winning people over because of my stupidity and weirdness and goofiness. Did you watch the 80s Twilight Zone? I did, but not religiously. It's great to rewatch because it's all 80s. Yep, I would like to do that because of that. I can already enjoy just seeing the old TV sets, VHS cars. Yep, that's why I'm recollecting a lot of my past and putting it in this room. You got to watch the house tour if you haven't on this video. Watch my home and home theater tour and house tour, because I go through all the geeky stuff and 80s stuff that I still have and all that good stuff. Celestial, I had to fight. Yeah, I never fought. And just never, it was close, but I never did. Never got into scraps like that. Adam, are you confident that season 3 Stranger Things will still be great? Season 2 was still really good, but season 1 a little better, I think. I am hopeful. Yep, I have no doubt in my mind. No doubt. Those guys know exactly what they're doing. They're on a great path. I love both seasons. I love them. So I have no problem. I'm 100% ready for season 3 to cream over me. Okay, so let's get back to this. I'm almost done, guys. This is one of my favorite television shows of all time. Some of you may know what I'm about to show off and talk about, and some of you may be like, once you see it, you may be like, what the hell, really? But I did. I grew up with it. It was not only did my whole family watch it, but I watched it and I loved it. And I love it to this day. And when I got this set on DVD, just smiles. My heart was smiling, everything was smiling. This is the complete, entire series of The Facts of Life. One of my favorite television shows of all time. This is the entire 9-season run of Facts of Life. Love it. Don't care what anybody says. It doesn't matter. That's your opinion. I have my opinion. And I love the show. I'll always love it. And it's fantastic. Again, Alan Thicke wrote the theme song to Facts of Life. And his wife at the time sang the song. Love it. Love Facts of Life. Celestial, only 2 TVs. We had one black and white. Yeah, we had a few. We had the main living room TV. We had my grandparents also had a TV in their bedroom. We had a smaller TV in the kitchen, and then up in my room we had my aunt had a TV because she was hoarding like all the sweet VHS and Laserdisc stuff, because that was like, if I wanted to like creep in and find a lot of the cooler stuff, my great aunt had it in her room. But once I got to about, I think 11 or 12, they built an extra room on our roof, which was right next to my room. So it would go from my bedroom, and then you'd go into another door, and then there'd be another room, which ended up being my media room. So I had 2 rooms growing up, and we had a TV and a VCR in the media room upstairs as well. But it ultimately became my shit. So one day I will put videos up, because some of you may not know I'm also a filmmaker, and I've been making movies my whole fucking life. But I have a lot of vintage sievage videos, and you'll see those bedrooms, those connecting bedrooms, and everything that I had, all the collections that I had back then growing up, and crazy stuff. Greg, just out of curiosity, what are some of the VHS tapes on the blanket you're sitting on labeled as? It's cool because they're like, just like you would growing up, they're labeled with actual movies and television shows and, you know, sport. I'm not a sports fan, but it's got sports, but Rocky 3, you know, stuff like that is on here. It's all over the place. Something Wicked This Way Comes. I think The Lost Boys is on here as well somewhere. Dune. But yeah, that's cool. I had to wear corduroy jeans and got picked on. Yeah, we all had corduroy jeans. We all did, man. Facts of Life went bad when Roy left. Adam, I know it isn't 80s, but do you like All in the Family? It's okay. My grandfather loved that show. You know, I didn't relate to a lot of, especially the older curmudgeon-y people on television shows. I just didn't gravitate towards, and I didn't even want to deal with watching it. But my grandfather watched it all the time. You know, I wish I had, and it went into the 80s, but I watched it. But I want all of Three's Company. I love Three's Company as well. You know, I loved Mr. Belvedere. I don't know why I don't have that on DVD. It's in my wish list. So many shows and movies and things are on my Amazon wish list that are just, some of them have been sitting there for years. It's just, you know, one day I'll have it. I'll have everything I want. Oh, hell yeah, I've seen Weird Paul on YouTube. Celestial, yep. Weird Paul's great. I actually want to get a interview going, because I would love to have Weird Paul on the show. I think it would be great. Such great experience, such a cool, unique experience that guy had growing up doing what he did. Amazing. That's the difference between Europe and the US. You even had TV sets in your kitchens and used credit cards in the 80s. We still hardly pay with credit cards in stores here. Yeah. Greg, Jack Tripper is one of the favorite. I totally agree, Greg. I 100% agree. John Ritter was a comedy genius. I believe it, 100%. And Jack Tripper was an amazing character, for sure. Miami Vice was huge back then, but I didn't watch Miami Vice. It didn't appeal to me. Brian, what's your thoughts on the Motu Filmation style figures from Super 7 and the Diamond Select Real Ghostbusters line coming out? Well, here's my take on the Super 7 thing in general and the Masters of the Universe thing now. I cannot stand the fact that you can't readily get Masters of the Universe figures in stores. It drives me up a fucking wall. And I understand from a purely business standpoint. However, there are clearly, by showing these boutique companies and how they're handling these properties, there is an audience that would still go out and buy these toys if they were readily available. Now these companies, even fucking Mattel, who pulled the Maddie Collector bullshit, was like, oh, well, these are limited, and you got to be in a club, and you got to do this, and you got to jump through hoops to be able to get these toys. And not only that, but they're also $35.99 or something like that. That stuff pisses me off. It just bothers me to no end. And Super 7 are still doing that. Now, I will say that with some of their line, they are making it a little more accessible for you to get, as opposed to these are special and these are limited and you can only get them through this window, and if that window closes, then you're shit out of luck, and scalpers are going to pay are going to want you to pay 150 fucking bucks for them online or what have you. So I do like them. They were on my list with the new Filmation visages on the old school sculpts of the original Masters of the Universe line. And in fact, I happen to have right here the He-Man from that new line, from the Filmation style He-Man. Now, folks, maybe one of you can tell me, but I did not order this for me. They were on my wish list, and then I took them off because I thought, no one's probably going to get them. So eventually one day I'll get them for myself, because you can get them at Big Bad Toys for 20 bucks a pop, which is great. But I didn't order this for myself. My wife did not order this for me. So, and then nobody came through to tell me that they got it for me. But this showed up on my doorstep, addressed to Chris Seaver, with no return address. And this has happened to me before, folks. Throughout the years, I would assume fans have sent stuff to me and have not taken credit for it. While it's amazing and it's so humbling, I would really appreciate I would like to give credit where credit is due when people send me stuff. Because, oh my God, and I want to be able to send you something, like, how great. But, so somebody sent me this and has not taken the credit. So thank you, people, whoever you are, for sending this to me, because this starts off my collection of the Filmation Super 7 original Masters of the Universe line. So thank you so much. The only thing that really pisses me off, though, is like his chess piece is unhooked up here, and I was hoping to keep these in the package, but that's a geeky nitpick, because I want to take this out and snap it back in. But anyway, Cheers. I like Cheers too. Cheers was another show that I watched with my family, but ended up watching in my teen years and young adult years as well. I didn't like Frasier at all, but loved Cheers. I didn't mind Frasier on Cheers. I just didn't like the show. What do I consider the most iconic TV car of the 80s? I think the A-Team van beats Knight Rider and the Duke's car, but the DeLorean is even without the Back to the Future parts an iconic car. That's right. I would say in general for me, the most iconic car is the DeLorean. But man, I really, I love the Kit. I love Kit. I really love Knight Rider, man. I love that. TV, if you're going TV, but I also would say the Ecto-1 from Ghostbusters. That's a movie, but I loved that. Um, but yeah, Kit, man. But I love the A-Team van. It was dope. But I say Kit. DeLorean in general. DeLorean in general. Ready Player One. Greg, I mean, I don't know what if you want me to say I hated it or I didn't like it, but I didn't. I loved Ready Player One. Love, love, love it. I've seen it several times since I got it on Blu-ray. Love the movie. Kit is gonna win over Riptide any day. I liked Riptide, but I prefer Kit. I didn't like Airwolf because I didn't like Jan Michael Vincent. See, it's weird. It's a weird thing like that. I gotta like the people in the roles, the characters. And if you're just, you might rub me the wrong way. Even as a kid, I just was like, nah, no thanks. No Jan Michael Vincent for me. Yeah, again, I'm going to take Kit every time. But I liked Riptide. Another thing that just came in the mail that I do know about is the new issue of Fangoria. The second issue of the relaunch. And I wanted to open it on the air. Because I thought, why the fuck not? And I will be doing a Fangoria-centric episode of It Crept from the 80s because I'm a Fangoria kid. I grew up with Fangoria. I am a horror fan, so I definitely want to do my part and talk about the love and magic of Fangoria. And several times throughout the years, I was lucky enough to be mentioned in the pages of Fangoria. Some of my films were mentioned. And in 2013, I was honored by a whole spread about my films. And I have an interview in Fangoria, and it's amazing. In the 2013 issue with Evil Dead, the remake, on the cover. So let's see what this baby looks like. Ooh! Ooh! Ooh. They got Joe Bob Briggs on there. Man, I love that they're going back to the original style of Fangoria. And these new Fangorias, folks, these are like fucking books. This is a straight up, this is great quality, hard. I can't wait to get into this. This looks great. I love it. I love that Joe Bob is on the cover, man. That's fantastic. All right, let's say the show that was Knight Rider on a motorcycle. Hell yeah, I loved Manimal. It was ridiculous. Adam, I like the Maniac. I'll say this. I like Maniac Cop 2 and 3 more than I like 1, actually. Because 2 and 3 were far more, if you want to say 80s horror, they were far more that. They had a little more, the special effects were a little more glossy, and the quality of the film was a little more streamlined, and Maniac Cop 1 is still really gritty. But 2 and 3 appealed to me. It's like Basket Case. I enjoyed 2 and 3 more than I like the first one. Any love for 80s hooker movies like Angel? Love Angels. Savage Streets. I love Savage Streets. It's not a hooker movie per se, but and man, Linda Blair's chest jowls. I'm a fan of large natural breasts, as you know, and they were out at attention in that movie. Savage Streets, Vice Squad. Not a fan of the Angel movies. They also always played late night or on HBO, and they were like a taboo thing for me to try to watch. I love Vice Academy. 3 in the morning here, signing off, guys. But thank you so much for joining in, man. Thank you. I hope you become a new watcher and subscriber and frequent commenter, and it's been great having you, man. D-Wink, whatever. D-Wink. D-Wince. Thank you for coming by. Frankenhooker is awesome. Yep, Adam, I like that. I agree. Savage Streets is in the genre. I love Savage Streets. Um, Greg, Lone Star Ship from Spaceballs is fantastic. Hell yeah. The Winnebago, the Eagle 5. Oh yeah, you mentioned it. Eagle 5. I see it went right by. They should have made a ship of that. They should have made toys of that, of the Spaceballs thing. That would have been great. But that's it. Yeah, that's it. So that was me going through what I had, what I have of 80s and early 90s on DVD, the collection. And, I'm ashamed I don't have more. But again, I used to, and I got rid of so many, just because I was poor and needed to sell things back in the day through the 90s and 2000s. But I don't, I'm at a point where I'm not selling this shit anymore. I have what I have, and what I get I'm going to keep. And, I still may need to make, sell some other things to make money here and there, because I'm still trying to make the money I need to for certain something that I need, and all that good stuff. Time Bandits, I love. Buckaroo Banzai. I've seen Buckaroo Banzai probably 10 different times, and every single time I still don't end up truly liking the movie. But Time Bandits I love. Time Bandits, my aunt showed me when she first got the laser disc, and it became a favorite. But yes, I do own that on Blu-ray. When I go, because I'm going to be going through my, now that I went through this collection, I am going to go through my movie collection again and do videos of that. So I will be talking about that stuff. Adam, I must go now. Fun chatting as always. Have a great rest of the night, Chris. Thank you guys. And actually, I'm going to go as well. Thank you, any of you guys who have stopped by and talked to me here. I love doing these live shows. I love talking to you folks. If you're a new fan, check out the page, check out the Facebook stuff. I also make movies. I've been making movies for years, and I sell my movies. And if you're interested in those, you can get a hold of me at warlockhomevideo@gmail.com, because I am doing deals for a bundle of my films all the time. If you're a Teen Ape fan, I'm also doing the pre-orders for the Teen Ape mask replicas. That still, we're only doing 5, so we still want to have people jump on that tip. Midnight Owl, thanks for putting up with us. No way, man. I love it. I love talking with all you folks. It's great. I'm gonna be doing these live shows more often, and I have been, because it really makes me happy. I really enjoy connecting with people, and I hope you guys are enjoying the content. And if you're fans of my films throughout the 28 years coming up that I've been doing it, thank you so much for that support. And thanks for watching, and we will see you guys again. We have so many different shows on the network now that you can check out. Subscribe, let other people know, hit the notification bell so you know that you're getting the new shows. But we just recorded our first episode of our Star Wars themed show, Scruffy Looking Scoundrels. Casey and I did our first episode of that. That's going to be coming up. We're shooting a new episode of Crap from the 80s, Saved by the Bell. We're shooting that Monday. That's going to be coming up. More live shows. The Saturday Morning Sleepover coming up at the end of the month. So yes, thank you everyone who joined in. Please keep coming back for more. Tell your friends. And thank you so much for the support. It's been awesome. I love talking with you guys. And thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Die, 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 die.